Good morning and welcome to this joint webinar of the Embassies of Sweden and Denmark in the Netherlands in cooperation with the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science. I will be your host today. My name is Petra Zachrisson Bates. I'm the Officer of Communication, Culture and Sweden Promotion at the Swedish Embassy in The Hague. But first of all, I would like to invite Ambassador of Denmark to the Netherlands, Jens Otto Horslund, to officially open this session. Jens Otto?
Thank you, Will. Dear all, welcome and also good morning from The Hague. I'm very happy to see so many digital participants on this nice and in The Hague almost sunny day, but we just heard that it's sunny at least in Copenhagen. Now, the last year and a half, COVID-19 has prevented many great events from taking place, like the Olympics, like the European football games that we're all watching and following now. And this summer, it looks more colorful, if we may put it that way. These days, you can see red and white flags everywhere in Denmark, and the other night, certainly also in Amsterdam. You could also see the orange flag all over in the street here in The Hague. Unfortunately, and we regret that, Netherlands is not continuing in the games, but Sweden is and playing tonight, and I'm sure there's a lot of blue and yellow flags around. In August, Copenhagen and Malmö will hoist the rainbow flag, when the most significant LGBTI event of the year will take place. It's called Copenhagen 2021 and should be Copenhagen Malmö 2021. But anyway, this event is special because it is the first time WorldPride and Eurogames will take place together. And it's also the first time either it will be split across two cities in two countries. We, the Danish and the Swedish embassies here in The Hague, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, took Copenhagen 2021 as an opportunity to host this webinar. Not only as a kick-off for the WorldPride and Eurogames in August, but it is also a part of something bigger, because next year, the Dutch city, Nijmegen, will host Eurogames 2022. The Netherlands and Sweden and Denmark, we are all considered to be among the most progressive countries on LGBTI plus equality and inclusion in society. However, there's always room for improvement, and there's always things we can learn from each other. Inclusion of LGBTI people in the sporting world, where certain gender roles still adhere, is an example of such an area where we can learn from each other. This is why it's important to have a webinar among us three. There are reports from all our countries that show that many athletes with a background as LGBTI plus, that they experience disagreeable and abrasive situations, changing rooms, and general derogative and homophobic comments. Also, the settings in which sports takes place can be excluding, like the divide between male and female competition, and certain requirements for when somebody can participate as a male or a female competitor. Now, the challenges LGBTI athletes face get more and more public attention in the media. Just to highlight a few, the American state of Florida recently banning transgender girls and women from participating in female sports at public schools and colleges. There's also a Danish tennis player who used a homophobic name against his opponent. Philip Anderson, the first Swedish skier, to speak publicly about his homosexuality. An American football player, Carl Nassib, who openly, only a week ago, came out as a gay. The Danish badminton duo and Olympic silver medal winners, Christina Petersen and Camilla Rytter, announced they are expecting their second child. New Zealand's Laurel Hubbard, who has become the first ever transgender athlete picked to compete at the Olympics. Now, those are examples that are generating a lot of debate about this. Now, all in their own way, they draw attention to an area where there is room for improvement. Changes should be made in general culture and language, and also when it comes to requirements. Because all these challenges and elements can contribute to LGBTI athletes quitting their sports. Some reports mention that as much as 25% of LGBTI athletes, they are quitting, which not only leads to the loss of great talent, but also to a loss in diversity and letting everybody feel included. Because in the end, sports is about having fun, fellowship, and feeling included. Talking about these challenges for LGBTI athletes in sports contributes to understanding or enhancing understanding of each other. As a diplomat who does a lot of talking, I can adhere to that. This is about tolerance and diversity. And all of us should remember, also in a discussion like this, that tolerance is a two-way street. Talking about challenges leads to understanding the other party and to reaching the necessary changes. Sports and sexuality does not include each other. Now, hopefully by listening to personal stories, hearing practical examples and best practices between our three countries, we can contribute a little to raising awareness and including everybody in sports and in society. Thank you. Tak så mycket. Dank u wel.
Thank you so much, Jens Otto Horslund, for these words. And as you said, Sweden and Denmark are amongst the most progressive nations in the world for LGBTI plus equality. Denmark decriminalized homosexuality in 1933 and Sweden in 1944. Discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression became illegal in both countries in 1987. It is this progressive development that forms the basis for WorldPride in Copenhagen and Malmö 2021. The event aims to raise awareness of the challenges still faced around the world. It will inspire people to take action and to be advocates for human rights. During WorldPride, several human rights focused events take place. At the core of these events is the Öresund Declaration. Named after the sound Öresund that connects Denmark and Sweden, the declaration will be signed by politicians, global leaders, human rights organizations, and other civil society groups to signal their commitment to LGBTI plus equality. Our next speaker knows how important it is to be equally treated. Famous top ice hockey player John Lee Olsen came out in 2019 as gay. He became the first professional ice hockey player in Denmark to be openly gay and only the third in the world. So John, please, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you. So my name is John Lee Olsen. I'm 29 years old and I've been playing hockey since I was 6 years old and been playing professional hockey for the last 7-8 years here in the best Danish league, and I've been playing too in international leagues as Champions Hockey League throughout Sweden and Europe. And yeah, as you said, 2 years ago I chose to come out on Danish national television, and for that I have been talking about my experience and my story as being an openly gay cis man in hockey and sports, and using my platform to show awareness of the inclusion in sports, also as an adoptee from South Korea, also seeing some of the things that I've been exposed to by being from Korea too. And yeah, so that's pretty much how my story is. And I'm also ambassador for Copenhagen 2021 in Copenhagen and Malmö, and for the Eurogames too in Copenhagen and Malmö. And I ambassador for Athlete Ally too, where I use my voice to talk about these issues that I see. And for Gay Games, that's going to be in I think it's Hong Kong 2022. So that's pretty exciting too.
Thank you, John. Can you tell us about some of the experiences? What kind of questions did you get when coming out 2 years ago?
So a lot of the questions I got before coming out was pretty much if I felt safe about coming out, and how my career would react, and how it would be afterwards. So a lot of the things that I was scared about before coming out was like these words you would hear, these slurs you would hear in the locker room and on the ice, you know, like faggot is one of the big things in Denmark that we say a lot, the Danish word for that. And it's something that's been still going on a lot. We see with football players in the best league in Denmark, and in the tennis league too. We've seen these slurs being thrown out quite rapidly. So that those were things that I felt was the toughest thing to come out, because I heard these things and people were talking about it, especially in the LGBT plus community. A lot of friends asked me if I felt safe about doing this. And
how has it been afterwards? Do you feel that the locker room talk, which is quite macho culture, of course, in the ice hockey arena, has they accepted you?
Yeah, it's a lot about that family kind of feeling you have in a locker room, and I was afraid of how that dynamic would be after coming out, and it felt the same thing, possibly even stronger. And a lot of the guys on my team and a lot around the organization and the Danish Hockey League and fans have been really supportive of me, which is amazing. You know, you couldn't dream of anything else than that. So everybody has really taken me in with open arms, but there's still been occasionally been throwing out the slur when we're doing some warm-ups before hockey, where I've seen it still being thrown out with people that I know in the league, where I either, most of the times they have been saying things afterwards, saying sorry and really been thinking about what they have been saying. But most of all, I also had to say something to them and talk about it and having this discussion. And I feel like now having a guy who's openly gay has opened that discussion a lot more, and have been bringing people around the sport to talk more openly about when something happens. And if you say something that's not okay, either in the locker room or outside hockey, it's been a bit of discussion than it was before. But there's still a long way to go. But it's
have you
been
had
better.
Forebuild function? How do you call that? That you have been maybe starting the trend of coming out. Are there other top athletes in Denmark who felt that they were free to come out now when you took the step in 2019?
I don't know exactly in Denmark, but especially, you know, the story went out pretty crazy the day after I came out on television around the world. It was amazing. And a couple of months after a Finnish guy came out, I can't exactly remember his name, but it was the year after he was playing pro, so he already retired, but he chose to come out afterwards, which I would say is so close to me coming out. So I think like I was so sad that he didn't play just one more year, because then it would be perfect. But that's how it is sometimes. And I think it was a year after, close to a year after, Zach Sullivan, who plays in the British league, best league, came out as the first bisexual hockey player, which is something that's really, really important to have that representation too in hockey, because that can be really, really tough to be like to have that too. And around 2 years after Yannick came out, he's 70 years old and plays in the Canadian Junior Major League, I think it is. Yeah. Just a year before the trading, draft picks is to be held. So that's something I talked a lot about, being openly gay before being drafted and before going professional, like in the adult leagues. Yeah, I wanted to me coming out being an outlet for the younger generation to have more support in the network, and just by seeing us and hearing us talking, using that as the confidence to coming out even younger, and showing that you can do it all the way through your career. So
exactly, and it really brings us also, John, to when you were younger. Was it because you were 27 when you came out? Did you feel that it took that long for you to get safe enough to talk about it? And do you maybe have a tip for our younger watchers? Should they try to come out earlier, or is it better to be sure? And then, what would you inspire other people to do?
My personal journey took a long while. I think also because I'm a bit older than the other teenagers right now. They are so much more way out there, more woke than I ever was when I was that age. So a lot of the things that we do and the people before us have done for us has made us more and more aware of how we can do things, and showed us, you can say, kind of guidelines. So for me, it's always about how you feel inside yourself. Like, how much does this mean to you coming out for your life? Like, how much of your, you can say, mental health would this mean for you? Because for me, it took a long while too, and it affected my mental health when I was younger. When I was a junior, just before being pro, it was really tough not being out, and my whole career could have been even better maybe if I came out earlier. But I wasn't sure if I was at the right time in my life, with knowing much about my community and where the support was and who to talk to. For me, I needed to be more involved in that community before knowing if I was ready to come out. And it took me years to have that group of extra family, you can say, in the LGBTQ community. So what I would say to people younger than me is really find yourself and see if it would be better for you coming out, like for your health, mental health, because that's the most important thing. Is coming out is about seeing yourself and seeing if this will make you feel better, because it really helped me a lot. And if that would happen, anything bad would happen, coming out will also give you a lot of people standing behind you too. You have to remember that it's not all the bad things. There's a lot of people coming behind you when you come out. So you will always have a bigger group of people supporting you too. So that is perhaps the best things and advice I can give.
Well, thank you so much, Jon. I know that you have also said that we are allowed to share your Instagram address so that people can take contact with you if they would like to get tips and inspired. But hearing you, I really feel that building up a safety net around you from friends and family and the LGBTI community helped you, and your mental health was helped by taking the step to doing this. So I hope that will be some advice for our people watching today. Are there any questions now? I have to look at the Mette. behind the scene, we have two really good colleagues from the Danish embassy here. There are no questions for you, John, so I will say thank you for now, and you are welcome to put questions in the questions and answers chat the whole time. We will have a little while at the end to come back to it, so please just put them in the Q&A, so we will try to answer them.
Thank you.
So thank you very much again. It is time to talk a little bit about the previously mentioned reports. Like Jens Otto Horslund said, it is especially difficult for transgender to come out. By the way, these reports can be seen and read at the event page that we made for this event on the Sweden Abroad page. So we will show that at the end as well, the address. But it is extra difficult for transgenders. Our next speaker knows all about. Laura van Beckhoven is a Dutch semi-professional windsurfer. She's also ambassador for the organization Pride and Sports here in the Netherlands. She will now share her story. And Laura, please.
Well, thank you for this invitation, of course. Yeah, well, like you said, I'm a semi-pro windsurfer and ambassador for Pride and Sports. I'm very proud of it, but it's been a tough road to get to this point. Society isn't there yet for equal rights for us transgender people. Short story, I lost my job because of it. I lost friends, family. Sorry. I lost one of my children because of me being me. The only way that I could find myself was through sports. Finding myself free enough when in windsurfing we have a saying, and it goes like, everything changes when your board hits the water. Well, that's absolutely true. I used windsurfing as an outlet for fighting my depression, finding myself a small safe spot where I can truly be the person that I am. But yet still feeling so much aggression on the water towards me as a female. And especially when they find out I'm a transgender female, it will get worse. People start cutting me off, going head on to me, so I have to fall, calling me names and beside of the water. So at one point, I was thinking about quitting, giving up my dream to become the fastest woman on the face of the earth, until I made a post about it and wrote about my fears as if it was possible for me to compete in the women's division. One person reacted in a certain way on this post and had contacted the windsurfing unions here in the Netherlands. And that person found out that it's okay for me to compete. And we kept a little bit in touch with each other. And not very later, she also came out as a transgender woman. Because of my story and standing up for myself and for others, she felt empowered to become the person she is. And now we still are in contact, and I'm seeing her growing to an amazing woman, feeling empowered. Next year, she's also going to compete in the Dutch women division in windsurfing. So being visible and standing up, it helps somebody else. So sharing my story and standing out, it's a risk because of all the violence, but it can help other people to be the person they truly are. So, and that is for me more important than all the remarks, all the aggression. If I can just help one or two persons for become the person that they are and live as truly as they are, it's okay. it's a subject that's very important, and people need to hear our stories.
It
So
really is, Laura, and I'm quite shocked actually to hear that you feel that you met so much aggression. Would you say it is a little bit better now when you have been open about your transgender for quite a while? Are people used to you?
no, it's going to be worse. And I know if I'm going truly to compete in the Dutch women division, there is a possibility that I will get more aggression towards me. Or people will tend to push me out of the women's division. Of course, I got green light because of all the rules that are made for competing within the women's division. That's not a problem. But people will find different way to push me out of push me from the. If I win a race, they will try to push me in another way from the stage. So I will have to be top of my game all the time, making sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. So I won't give them any reason to try to exclude me.
No. It is. Did you feel, just like John was talking about, he got a lot of safety from his LGBTI network. Do you experience the same? Do you have other transgenders that you feel that you can relate to and strengthen you?
Within windsurfing, no.
No.
I absolutely didn't have any role models or something, or people that I can relate to. That's also one of the reasons why I stood up, to be the role model that I missed during my transitioning. Yeah, of course, I have a lot of people other transgender people to talk about the transitioning from male to female or the other way around. But that's different because they don't understand what windsurfing means to me. They don't understand what sport means to me, because a lot of transgender people stop sporting because it isn't safe for us. Going to a gym, don't knowing which locker room you can use, don't know if you going to be misgendered or feeling aggression from other people that are doing sports.
Yeah.
Even within team sports, it's the same. Am I allowed to compete in the sports based on my gender, or do I still need to compete in the way I was born?
Exactly. It has to do with your gender identity, of course, and
yeah,
being welcome as you are. Do you think there is something that Dutch government could do to raise the question? I mean, this webinar is of course meant to put the finger on that spot to start a discussion today, but is there anything else you would like to see from authorities to ease up the situation here in the Netherlands for you as a transgender sportswoman?
Oh, I think it's difficult. I've been talking a lot about it with Pride and Sports. What can we do to enhance the safe spot for transgender athletes, so we can do sports? We are still working on a couple of the ideas, like making how you say it, a certificate for sport industry, so other LGBTI plus athletes know, okay, this is a safe spot where we can be ourselves. This is where they can understand the problems we are facing, and they stand. They got our backs. Yeah. I needed to for windsurfing to get my sail number. I have to be a member of a windsurfing school, and it was hard finding one that was that said it isn't a problem.
Yeah.
It isn't a problem.
You found one, and tell us about the number in your sail.
Yeah, it's such an amazing number. I'm proud of. It's NED from Netherlands, but it's 1801, and it stands for 18 of January 2017, and that is the day I became, by law, truly the person that I am today. So it's a big, it's referring to that moment that I truly became myself, and so it's something very special. And thanks to working with Pride and Sports, I felt empowered enough to take this step. And I know they got my back. I know the windsurfing unions got my back at the moment that there will be problems. And that is what empowerment does. Yeah, what it meant to me to take the next step in my windsurfing career. Yeah. Next year, I want to compete in the Davy Wind. It's a long distance race. It's 40 kilometers on sea, going with 40 knots of wind. So but it's also doing it with 1,500 other windsurfings at the same time. So it's an immense thing. But thanks to their support, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. This is for the next stop I'm going in my career. I want to be there and try to become the fastest woman within the fleet. Of course, my dream is Luderis Speed Challenge. It's in Namibia. It's a speed sailing channel they dig. But I don't know if I'm going to get there. Based on knowing that country isn't safe for LGBTIQ athletes, of people. So am I going as an open transgender woman, open lesbian? Am I going to a country where I'm not safe? Or should I say it isn't my time? And I don't know yet. And that's also something we always have to think about. Is the country where we are going, is it safe to be ourselves? Or do we have to act straight or act a different way to be safe? And that's something that does need to change, so we can, as athletes, can move around the globe and find the perfect spot for windsurfing, find the perfect spot to train within. Doesn't matter which sport.
No. So we'll hope that you get a lot more attention around this problem also during World Pride and the Eurogames 2021, and of course with the continuation of Eurogames and World Pride coming here to Nijmegen next year. You can hope, I hope that you will get a lot of support and the wind in your back for that.
Yeah, me too. And it's small steps. Last week, I got an interview with the biggest windsurfing girls on Instagram. And one of the worldwide windsurfing unions also picked up my story. Yeah. So I reached out to almost 100,000 windsurfers around the globe with my story. So small steps, but I'm getting there and feeling so much support within the windsurfing community from women. And they're like, oh, wait, you need a little bit help with how this spot, how to sail at this spot. And like, oh, let's make an appointment and I will teach you. I'm accepted within the woman division by a couple of women.
Yeah.
So
that's a starting point for you, and I really hope it will take off afterwards, and that you will feel that as soon as the board hits the water, you're just gonna sail on. Thank you so much
you're welcome.
For sharing your story today, Laura. I would also like to ask, are there any questions, especially to Laura now? In the chat? Then we open the Q&A. Oh, I see many questions. That is nice. So thank you for your story, Laura. The first questions. Van Henne is pleased to know that also the federations are working on it. Okay.
Okay, that is awesome.
This is a little more.
But I see a lot of things that are happening towards LGBTI athletes, but do it with us, not thinking about knowing the problems we have and making rules for us. Invite like Pride and Sports at the table, because we are an LGBTI plus platform. We know what we are talking about because we are the LGBTI plus athletes. And a lot of time people are making or thinking about, oh, LGBTI people need this. No, we need something else. Yeah.
Exactly. So you are inviting now to a dialogue, if I get you correctly, that Pride of Sports can also take part in the discussions.
Yes, please do, because we know what we need. The same reason why there's a lot of around the Netherlands, there are a couple of queer gyms starting up, because people want to do something about sport, but having a safe spot.
Yeah.
So it's we are making now just invite us to the table, because
exactly.
We know what's about.
I can see that Henne van S at least is saying they like to talk to you, but
okay, no problem.
Going to the next question now, Laura, for you. Have the support that you've got from society been rising the last few years with a larger focus on inclusiveness, or do you still meet prejudices in the Dutch society?
It's getting harsher. It's getting, the more people see us, the more friction it causes. If we look towards acceptance from gay people, they are 10 years ahead of us. So in their starting points, they had the same problems that we are having now. So because of social media, people feel free to call and say whatever they want. When I got an interview for a television or for a newspaper or something, I don't even read the comments.
No, you should better not, probably.
No, but that is what I mean. Walking around the streets being called she-male or other worse words. People who don't know me, call me names, are asking me to reject my own identity for their feeling. I mean, those are the things we get in our path, in being who we are and how we feel.
Of course, it really hurts a lot as well. So it's really good to hear. I'm actually very sad to hear that you feel that it's being even harsher. But thank you again then for taking the stance for visibility. We have another question also from Martin Borsch. Thanks for sharing, Laura.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm interested in your view on Laurel Hubbard competing in the Tokyo Olympics.
Okay. Of course, it's amazing. It's the first transgender person who is starting within the Olympics. No, it's not, because we also have that American who is BMX, bicycle, but it's in a reserve. For her, I truly hope she wins. As an athlete towards another athlete, she was at the point of her career that she had to stop due to pain within the body, of how you say it, injury. So again, she stepped up by training. She became, she could compete. If I look towards the discussion, there's always been if we have an advantage due to testosterone. I don't know if I'm looking at it in the same way.
And then you maybe have to explain how Laura Hubbard is talking about that to our audience who may not know Laurel Hubbard, sorry.
Okay, of course. Okay, she's a transgender weight lifter, and she's competing within the Olympics.
And what is her take on testosterone? Sorry, I didn't get that.
At this point, due to nerves, I don't can recall it.
Yeah, okay.
But if I look towards but testosterone isn't the only thing that makes an athlete.
No.
Yeah? It's also physical appearance. It's also how well your body can recover after doing something. It's more than just testosterone. If I look towards my testosterone level, probably it will be lower than yours. I mean, I'm allowed to have 10 nanomole per liter, and I only have 0.5. But yet everybody will talk about me having testosterone or me having an advantage. And people don't know, still don't know what's happening during transitioning. Yeah, we know as transgender persons what's happening. I lost about 40% of my muscle strength during the starting of my transitioning. Within half a year, I don't have any, after half a year, I won't have any more strength or power than an average woman, because of the medication I'm taking.
And this is, of course, also something that is really important to share. So again, thank you so much. I'm sorry we have to
no problem.
jump from this question, but thank you again, and thanks for the questions. I'm looking now to Ina. We have a participant from FC Rosengård.
Hi, my name is Louise Eklund and I am the communications manager in FC Rosengård in Malmö, Sweden. I'm very honored to be joining you here today to talk about WorldPride and how we can work more with inclusivity. And FC Rosengård is a football club in Malmö, Sweden, which has one of Sweden's and Europe's best women's teams. And this spring we play the quarterfinals in the UEFA Women's Champions League, and we are currently leading the Swedish league, and we are undefeated so far. And FC Rosengård also has more than 700 active children and youngs in our football activities. But the club does not only work with football. We have an equally large part of the business that is about social initiatives. And we operate both in the inner city of Malmö and in the outer areas of Malmö. And our vision is that everyone should have the same opportunity to believe in their dreams, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or who they love. And equality and inclusivity have always been two keywords in FC Rosengård's work. And now that WorldPride is coming to Malmö and Copenhagen, there was no doubt for us to participate in the event and expand our involvement in these issues related to LGBTQIA+. And the pride flag has always been an important symbol in our club. For many years it has been on the captain's armband, on the corner flag, on the match jersey. And it's a very clear way for us to show that we stand up. We stand up for everyone's equal value. And FC Rosengård is a club that always speaks up and is a leading force for many issues in sports and football, especially regarding gender equality and inclusivity. We are involved and influence the big federations like UEFA and the Swedish football associations. We want to make a difference. And we discuss these matters openly in the media and with the federations, but we also work within the club with initiatives concerning female leadership, and we run a labor market program that focuses on equality and to provide everyone equal opportunities for work. And we have a project focusing on inspiring young girls and giving them knowledge to broaden their knowledge in current topics. And for many years, we've seen that it gives a good result because we work with our platform, and our platform is football. And this is where we can reach young girls, young people in Malmö, anyone. And that's where we can make a change. And we've also seen that it's easier to reach especially children in a safe environment for them, and that is their football environment. And in our leadership program, Football for Life, which we run in both South Africa and in Rosengård here in Malmö, we break boundaries and barriers by helping girls and women into the football world. And where cultural barriers previously have stopped them. And there are many preconceived notions that girls cannot or should not play football, but by showing them that that is possible, we also open other doors for them. And we break through prejudice and we give more people the opportunity to believe in their dreams. And we are convinced that we can do the same when it comes to LGBTQIA people. And by being an open association that welcomes everyone and gives everyone the opportunity to play football, no matter who you are or who you love, we hope that we can give you the opportunity in life as well, show that anything is possible. And we are lucky to have many role models in our association that are openly queer, openly gay. And in women's football, there is a more open and completely different climate regarding this than it is in the men's football. And however, we see that our women's players, they can be good role models for children and young people regardless of gender. We see that effect in our club at least. And on the youth side, with our youngs, we work mostly internally to educate our youth leaders and youth coaches. And we are aware that we ourselves in the club can organize our youth activities in the way that we want to, and we can therefore assure that everyone is welcome. And when it comes to matches in Sweden, you need to apply for a dispensation to let, for example, non-cisgender girls play in a girls' team. And the club has done this several times, and applications have always been approved. So knowing this makes both the club and our youth coaches and everyone very confident in that we can welcome anyone into any team. And so we try to be as open as we possibly can. And on the senior side, we work a lot with role models, as I said. We know how important it is for young people to have someone to identify with in order to completely dare to be themselves fully. And that's why we advocate openness for our seniors and that they can take pride in leading the way. And in elite sports, there's a stricter structure rules about who can play in which league, etc. And here we have the courage to take the fight and discuss these problems. Change will not happen overnight, but we know that by raising the issue, we can make a change for a longer period of time in the future. And in 2021, we will also work with educating girls around in our region, Skåne, in one of our social projects that is called Hattrick. And here we meet girls that are 12 to 15 years old, and we want to inspire them to continue playing football, but we also want to give them like a knowledge package within Pride and LGBTQIA+. And here we give them basic knowledge about terminology, and where they can turn to if they have any questions. And we raise issues that exist in sport in general, but in football in particular. And when it comes to prejudice and structures and traditions, that football is very bound to traditions. And we discuss different problematic situations that could occur in football. And the point is to always reach the conclusion that it's better to be open, it's better to be welcoming, it's better to be permissive in all these situations. And we have received a really good response early on from both players and leaders who are grateful that we raise these issues in a simple and accessible way for the children in an environment that they are comfortable in. We see that there are far fewer prejudice among these young people than when it comes to adults, which has given us very positive hopes for the future, and also makes it clear for us that our efforts, they really do make a difference, and it's very easy to talk about this with the young people. And we will also hold workshops and panel discussions for companies connected to the club and the general public during WorldPride. And here we will share our experiences and our initiatives, and hopefully we will inspire others to make a difference in their field, in their environment. And soccer is a team sport based on community, and therefore it's very, very important for us that our football club is a place where everyone feels welcome and safe. And we are far from perfect in all of these aspects, but we are aware that we must work very actively every day to get better. And we want to make a difference, and we want to be involved in creating a more inclusive and open FC Rosengård, and we want to create a more open Malmö and make a long-term change for a more inclusive football community. And that is why we engage in any way we can. And my biggest tip that I can send along from our work with inclusivity, use your platform. Where are you? Where can you reach people? Who do you already have in your close proximity? And how can you influence them? And no one can change the world by themselves, but everyone can make a small change, and that will make a really big difference in the end. So I hope that you were a bit inspired by this, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions, and happy Pride.
And so, do we have any more questions now? Actually not. So we're gonna talk a little bit about, you are gonna talk freely about your initiative called the Alliance Equal Games. And Lou Manders, you are a really Eurogames pro. First, you participated in the organized Eurogames 2003 in Copenhagen. And then you initiated an organized Eurogames here in Utrecht in 2005. You've also been a co-president of the European Gay Lesbian Sports Federation, who is actually the organizing party of the Eurogames. And you are now board member of the John Blankenstein Foundation and a coordinator of Alliance Equal Game. Ryan Ramarak is Policy Officer Diversity at the Dutch Ministry of Education, Culture and Science. You've earlier been a board member of COC Nijmegen. So I'm guessing you will also have something to do with the next Eurogames taking place in Nijmegen in 2022. So please, Lou and Ryan, tell us about the Alliance Equal Games.
Yes, so the Alliance, we work from the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science, but we also work together with the Ministry of Health, Wellbeing and Sports. So we're like a team, and we finance the Alliance for several reasons. We don't really want like from the top to say, okay, this is what has to happen, but we want organizations from the field to say, okay, this is what needs to happen in sports for LGBT people. And so we finance this Alliance. It's Equal Games or Equal Play, whichever you like. We've been financing this Alliance for several years now. And there's room for the Alliance to come up with a plan and say, okay, this or that are going to be our focus points. And we also like to work with alliances because we combine partners. So there are several partners in one alliance that work together towards the same goal. I want to ask Lou some questions about the Alliance and what the Alliance does. So first, just a general question, what does the Alliance look like?
Well, since the start of the Alliances, it's already a couple of years now, the John Blankenstein Foundation and the Dutch Olympic Committee are core partners of the Alliance. The compositions changed over the years, but nowadays, the Alliance consists of the John Blankenstein Foundation, the Dutch Olympic Committee, the Royal Dutch Football Federation, and the Royal Dutch Field Hockey Federation. I have to add field because otherwise people think we're also doing some skating. But in the Netherlands, we stay on the grass mostly when we talk about hockey. And the thing is that if we all think that fans and supporters play a major role in the acceptance of LGBTI plus players, we thought that we should add the Pink Football Fan Clubs organization to join the Alliance, because we want to talk with stakeholders in the Alliance and not only talk about fans, but with fans. So that's the present composition of the Alliance. And as a coordinator, the John Blankenstein Foundation is coordinator. We take care of leading the project, chairing meetings, doing the steering groups, and furthermore, we report regularly to the ministries of you just talked about on the progress, and we take care of the financial administration about that.
And what does the Alliance do?
Yeah, well, we have 3 target groups. First of all, the sport federations, the national sport federations, and sport clubs. We have city communities and regional governments, and we have the fan groups. And that are target groups that we focus on with our projects. And what we do is we create awareness by giving workshops at sport clubs, sport federations, and at schools where the future sport teachers and trainers are being educated, because we think that's really important to start over there. And we help city communities in creating tools how to bring their policies on LGBTI plus inclusion in sports into practice, because what we see is there are a lot of policies being written on paper by local governments, but you know, they ask us to help them to make it work. Otherwise, it stays paper, and we definitely want it to be actually things happening. We do a lot of research, and we do that in cooperation with the Mulier Institute. And I'm very proud that for the first time ever, we did some research on the participation on transgender and the intersex community in sports. They did some researches a couple of years ago on how mainstream sport organizations look towards the participation of people with a transgender or intersex condition. And we thought it's very important to know what the transgender community and the people with intersex condition think about sports participation themselves. So what we did is we have a report, but we also translated it into fact sheets. So they are easier to read than most likely dull reports, scientific reports. And we made some podcasts about that. And where I'm personally very proud of is, and that's also linking to the story of Laura, is that we work together with the Dutch Olympic Committee to create new guidelines for sex and gender diverse individuals. And we made it with the Dutch Olympic Committee. But for the first time, we invited Transgender Network Netherlands and the Netherlands organizations for people with an intersex condition to talk with us about the acceptance of the transgender and intersex community, instead of talking about them. We're not there yet. And the story of Laura, you know, is perfectly saying that we are absolutely not there where we want it to be. But I think what we're doing now is, together with several sports federations, talking about creating guidelines for these sport federations themselves to make it more, to adjust them to specific sports. And I'm really looking forward to inviting Laura and Pride Sports to see what we can do together for instance, the Netherlands Windsurfing Organization, to see how we can translate the guidelines, you know, the general guidelines to this specific sports Laura is practicing. And I'm really happy to do it after this webinar to talk about the possibilities. And I'm really looking forward to cooperating, because that's where it happens. It doesn't happen in The Hague at ministries or at city councils. It happens with people, grassroots, people playing sports, doing sports, and people looking at sports and supporting them. And that's the most important thing. So, and we're very proud that we talked already with a delegation from the International Olympic Committee about these new guidelines, because, you know, that they are specifically splitting elite sports and grassroots sports, because they differ very much. And what happened was that people in grassroots sports that for sport federations said we should abide by the rules from, you know, the international sport organizations for elite sports. And why use these guidelines? Most people just want to do sports on a grassroots level. And I think participation and inclusion is far more important than the competition itself. Of course, it's completely different from for elite sports. So I think that's a major step forward to make the division. But we're definitely not there yet, and we still have to continue. And we're very happy with the support of the two ministries that we are able to do this work.
And so my last question, you mentioned the podcast and the fact sheets. Where can people find these?
They can be found on the website of the Alliance, Gelijk Spelen, or the John Blankenstein Foundation. And we're in the middle of creating a new website specifically for the Alliance, where all these information, all these links, people can ask questions, can be put forward, and where people can listen to the podcasts or view the fact sheets, or even if you're really interested, study on the reports by the Melia Institute and see all the statistics.
That's fantastic. Lou and Ryan, thank you so much for your participation today. And I definitely would like to put a little link on our event side as well for all of you. But unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the webinar. So I will ask Ambassador of Sweden to the Netherlands, Annika Markovic, to end our little meeting today. Annika, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Petra, and dear speakers, thank you so much for sharing your very personal stories today. And to all listeners, thanks for tuning in. I hope that you have been inspired and encouraged to stand up for equality. At least I have really been inspired by this discussion. And it is so clear to me that there is room for improvement to make all LGBT+ persons feel included in sports. And sport is incredibly important for everyone's well-being. And we can't accept that anyone feels excluded or bullied or scared. We just have to keep on working on this. And my government, the Swedish government, has teamed up with the Swedish Sports Confederation to counteract discrimination and try to improve the conditions for a more conscious, norm-critical approach, one that actually identifies and challenges stereotypes about men and women and gender. We have to invest more in developing the competence to ensure that coaches, leaders, and educators gain a better understanding of norms, power, and privileges. And the Swedish Sports Confederation has updated their instructions for children's and youth sports to have the trans perspective included in a clearer way than before. It has also decided that sports federations can start from gender identity instead of legal gender to meet the gender equality requirements in boards and nomination committees. And I especially would like to highlight two projects. The first one is called Sports for All Bodies, and the second is called Strategy 2025. Both of these programs aim to make sports more equal and more inclusive, and you can read more about them on the event site. And I believe that the webinar today has challenged our three countries and our three governments, the Danish, the Swedish, and the Dutch, to continue this discussion together. Because in the end, it's you and me, it's our friends, it's our neighbors who set the standards. And if we all act the way that we have discussed today, trying to understand and to respect and to be open, we can make sure that the opportunities to engage in sports are equal for everyone, regardless of gender or identification. So during WorldPride and Eurogames, there will be several workshops on human rights and equal rights. Help us spread the word about this big Pride event in Copenhagen and Malmö from 12th to 22nd of August, where the discussion will continue. So until then, have a great and festive summer and join the Pride feeling, because Pride is every day, all year around, not just a day or a month, it's every day. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you again to the speakers. It has really been great.